Hi there, this is DM Nell, and this is the first in a series of videos that I'm going to be doing that is covering my new Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign that I'm starting. It is actually an experiment. I'm not sure how far this campaign will go, simply because my players are D&D players, and none of them, well, actually one of them has played Shadow of the Demon Lord, but the others have not, so I'm not sure if they'll like it. And so at this point, it is just a trial run, and we will see if it will actually continue on through the entire campaign. So we started on last Tuesday, and we had a kind of, I guess, what you can call a session 0, in which we rolled up characters, and we started with a rules review, as well as just kind of a little bit of a background of the world itself. But that's really about all we accomplished in the last session. So our first actual play session is going to be this coming Tuesday. So I wanted to use this time on this video to just kind of talk about what we did go over, what my plans are for the campaign, and just kind of give you a brief overview of what my intentions are here. So for those of you who are watching this, those one or two of you that are watching this, Shadow of the Demon Lord is a D20-based game system that was developed by Schwab Entertainment. Here's the book. And it was a Kickstarter that was launched, I think, the year before last. And I jumped in on the Kickstarter after reading the description of the setting, and I pretty much fell in love with the whole premise. So I wanted to back it up, and I'm glad that I did, because the Kickstarter was very successful. Not only did I get the book, but I got a ton of supplements, and the game is just rich with all kinds of material. So my intention for this video is not really to cover the rules of Shadow of the Demon Lord. There are other videos for that and other resources for that. So hopefully you have some kind of understanding of the game system. But if not, I recommend that you go check it out, because it's an excellent game system, and I hope my players agree. So last Tuesday we started off with rolling up characters, and I have 4 players. I've known these players for a very long time, and played various games with them, mostly D&D. I've had my Tuesday night game going online on Roll20 for probably a year and a half now, mostly playing D&D, although we've played a little bit of Numenera, we played a little bit of Star Wars, the Saga system, and we've been mostly playing D&D, though. So I've run 1.5 D&D campaigns. I just finished a D&D campaign, and now I'm starting the Shadow of the Demon Lord. Now, let me rephrase that. I have played Shadow of the Demon Lord before. I've actually run Shadow of the Demon Lord before. I ran 3 sessions for a face-to-face group, and then I ran one of the adventures for a convention last year. And so I think I have a fairly good grasp of the game system, and I really like it. And so I'm hopeful that my players will dig it, and we will play this for a while. So getting back to what we did on Tuesday, we rolled up characters, and I got my 4 players that I mentioned, who will remain anonymous, because they're not, they haven't given any consent to be their names or their personal information shared on this video or any video. So I'm just going to refer to them as my players, and as their character names. So one player had wanted to roll up something different than what it comes in the standard core rulebook, and the core rulebook has a variety of options, but this player, the one player that had played before, he wanted to try something from one of the supplements. So I allowed that. And so he rolled up a Uten. Now, a Uten is which I guess the corollary for Dungeons and Dragons would be like a Goliath. Jotun is a giant-sized character class, or what's referred to as a not a character class, but a character race. And races are referred to as ancestries in this game, so I have to get my terminology right. So he is a Jotun, and Jotuns don't follow the same progression in the character paths, which is another term for classes in this game, that the standard classes or characters follow. So this player wanted to do something a little bit different. He picked a Jotun, and he is also the first person to give me a background or backstory for his character. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out how his character is going to fit into the campaign. The other characters are, let me back up. The Jotun, the path that he chose is also called a Jotun. So his ancestry is the Jotun, and his novice path is also a Jotun. So he's a Jotun. So that's one character. Second character is a human, and he chose just the warrior path. So he's also given me kind of a brief background. He actually chose to randomize his character's background information. So he rolled off all the tables and picked and came up with his character's background. So he gave me some information, and I'm going to be building that into the campaign as well. And then the third character is a dwarf character, and he chose the magician path. So a dwarf magician is a little bit odd. So I'm going to have to figure out how that's going to work. He hasn't given me any background information as of yet. And then the final character is another dwarf, and he chose the priest path. So we have a Jotun, we have a human warrior, we have a dwarf magician, and we have a dwarf priest. So those are my four characters. I'm actually trying to see if I can get a fifth character or a fifth player involved, but at this point he's not committed to it. So I'm going to assume that I have the four and run with that. All right, so we rolled up the characters, and I went through the basics of the rules and the basics of the campaign setting. Now, the basics of the campaign setting, and I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail because, again, there's other resources for that. But I'm using the campaign setting that is presented in the core rulebook, which is that of the Crumbling Empire of Rule. That's R-U-L, and U has a little funny symbol on it. It sounds like Zool, but it's pronounced Rule with an R. So the Empire of Rule has been in power for about not quite 1,000 years. And it encompasses this entire continent that you see on the screen here. And this is my Roll20 campaign that you're looking at. This map is available pretty much online. You just Google it, and you can find it pretty quickly. But anyway, you see the entirety of the map of the Empire, which stretches from the Northern Reach, which is the northernmost territory of the Empire, down to the Patchwork Lands in the Kingdom of Skulls, which is the southernmost border of the Empire. And then you can see there's more beyond that, but those are not part of the Empire. Those are actually other regions. So, and you can also see to the north, there's also another region up here, but that's also not part of the Empire. So the Empire is made up of a lot of different sections or regions or provinces. And in my campaign, I'm not really going to focus on those. My campaign's focused in the Northern Reach, which I'll get to in a minute. But the whole premise of the campaign is that the Empire's been in power for almost 1,000 years, but suddenly, about a year ago, there was an event that occurred which caused the Empire's army, which is made up of a race or an ancestry known as orcs in this game. And there's a whole backstory behind how the orcs became the soldiers for the Empire, which I'm not going to get into here. But basically, the orcs are a created race and put into service for the emperor as the muscle of the emperor's armies. And so the orcs about a year ago received some kind of missive or some kind of divine sign that led them to want to cast off their shackles of servitude to the empire and to overthrow the emperor, which is exactly what happened. And the uprising, the orc uprising, is led by a massive orc by the name of Drudge. And so that, at least, those are the rumors that have filtered all the way to the north over the last year. Now, the campaign that I'm running is set in the Northern Reach, which is kind of a frontier area. It's part of the empire, but it's kind of like a territory. It's not really something that the people of the empire proper down here don't really consider the Northern Reach as a proper part of the empire. It's kind of like just that area up there. And there are settlers from the empire that have gone to the Northern Reach and settled for the last probably for the last few hundred years, but it's still considered, just that weird area to the north. And so it doesn't have the flow of information that the rest of the empire has. So basically the information from the rest of the empire kind of filters in from travelers that cross the Shield Mountains, which is the natural barrier that separates the Northern Reach from the rest of the empire. And that's what's happened over the last year. They've had some travelers just kind of bringing information from the south up to the people of the Northern Reach. And lately the information has been rather disturbing of this orc uprising. The people of the Northern Reach don't really know what to make of it. And is it true? Is it rumor? Is it being blown out of proportion? They really don't know. And that's the kind of the atmosphere that I'm starting the campaign in. So the campaign that I'm running is a published campaign. It's the only published full campaign for the Shadow of the Demon Lord, and it is actually part of the Kickstarter as well. It's written by Robert Schwalb, and it is called Tales of the Demon Lord. And like I said, it's a complete campaign, so that means that it's got adventures that span the entirety of the levels that this game covers, which is 0 through 10. It caps out at 10th level currently. I think there are plans to expand it beyond 10th, but at this point it caps out at 10th level. And so the Tales of the Demon Lord starts off in the Northern Reach. Actually, I think the whole setting or the whole campaign is in the Northern Reach. And let me just move over to the Northern Reach map. Here it is. And it starts off in the city of Crossings, right there. And Crossings is right dead center of the Northern Reach. And so I believe that the various adventures in the campaign will take the players outside of Crossings. I haven't read through all of the adventures as of yet. I've just read through the first 2 or 3. Because, again, I'm not sure if my players are actually going to latch on to this game system. So I didn't want to waste my time reading the whole thing if I was only going to run a few adventures. So if they do like it, I'll read further ahead and I'll get a better understanding of where the campaign goes. But I do know that it starts off in Crossings, and there's at least one adventure that takes the players outside of Crossings. But the first couple of adventures actually are in the city of Crossings. And so the city itself is kind of a medium-sized city, I guess you could say. Smallish, medium-sized, I'm not really sure. It looks fairly good size to me. But there's a city map, and let me zoom in just a little bit here. There we go. And you can see that it's got various districts separated by these walls. And it's got, it borders a lake called the Dark Waters. And that is where we're starting. So the campaign itself is, like I said, from 0 level to 10th level. But I'm starting off my players at first level. And the reason I'm starting off my players at first level is because I tried a zero level campaign or zero level adventure the first time I ran this game, and it was an okay experience, but I really felt that it was almost a bit of a waste of time to start off at zero level because my players are pretty experienced. And I think that the starting off at zero level experience is probably more for starting players, so that they can get a grip on, how to role play and how to play an RPG and that sort of thing. So I really didn't feel like starting this campaign off at zero, at level 0. So I had my players roll up first level characters. But there is a zero level adventure in here. So actually what I'm going to do, since most of my players have not played Shadow of the Demon Lord, I'm going to use that zero level adventure as the starting point, and basically have my players run through it as kind of like a practice run, just so that they can get a grip on the combat system, get a grip on the way the game plays, and then we will launch into the first level adventure right after that. Now, I don't anticipate that the first level or the zero level adventure will take a whole lot of time because it's fairly short, but my players have been known to drag fairly short scenarios out for a bit, so we shall see how long it takes. My hope is to, if we do this campaign in its entirety, then my hope is that I limit the games to 1 per session. But since we only play for 3 hours in a night, and we're playing online, and there have been technical issues with some of my players and with myself, I'm thinking that each adventure is probably going to take at least 2 sessions. So if we go from 0 to 10, I'm thinking maybe anywhere from 20 to 22 weeks in order to complete this campaign in its entirety, if we finish it. So that's not too bad. That's about 5-6 months, 5.5 months, something like that. So we'll see how it goes. I think we can do it. So we'll see. So anyway, the first adventure, I'm not going to go into detail on this because the game will be next Tuesday, and in the very off chance that any of my players are going to see this video, I don't want to spoil anything. But like I said, it starts off in the City of Crossings, and I actually have a street scene that I'm going to put them on, which is this one, and this also comes from the adventure. One of the pieces of art from it. And this is what I will keep up on the screen while we're just talking through things and role-playing and stuff like that. And then once we get to the main scenario of the zero-level adventure, then I will go ahead and move them to the map. So I'll go ahead and give you a sneak preview here. I built a couple of maps, 3 maps actually, for that first adventure, because it revolves around an abandoned manor in the slum area of town. And this manor used to be the mayor's manor, but as the city grew and this portion of the city became more slummy, the mayor decided to move his house to the nicer parts of town that have developed. So this house has been abandoned for some time now, and it's now basically a ruin. So I actually had to build this map from various sets that I purchased from Roll20, and I would credit all of the various artists that contributed to building this map, but I don't know them all. So anyway, you can find them all on Roll20. But this map, this house has 2 stories and a cellar. So this is the first story of the house, and the yard and the street in front of the house and the street behind the house. So I had to actually put this map together from various token sets and map sets. So this is not something that you're going to be able to find on Roll20 like this. I put this together from those various sets. So the house came from one set. I think these actually came from Dungini art that I pulled off of Google, as well as this thing down here. These stains and the broken furniture and stuff like that came from other sets. So I built this thing, and I put dynamic lighting on it as well, so that when the characters actually come up, when they walk up on the house, what they will see is the exterior, and the interior is going to be blackened out because they're not going to be able to see inside the house until they actually go in. And then once they move their tokens inside the house, the dynamic lighting will let them see as far as their line of sight allows, and in accordance to whatever light source that they're carrying as well. So that is the first level. And then the second level looks like so. I also had to put this together. And then the cellar looks like so. So if you compare these maps to the map that actually comes in the adventure, I had to diverge from that map because in order to build that map, I would have had to work a little bit harder. And I really didn't want to spend too much time building maps for a zero level adventure. In fact, I actually spent more time than I wanted to just building these 3 maps. So that's why the maps here don't look like the map in the actual adventure. But I tried to stick to the spirit of the map in the adventure and keep it to the 3 levels, first level, second level, and then a cellar. And so that's what you got. So if anybody is trying to compare to the map in the book that's hand drawn, actually, you're going to notice quite a difference from it. So that's okay. I think I did capture the essence of the Moore house in my maps, and so we'll run with that. So those are the maps that I've developed so far, and my players have picked out some tokens, and so far these are the tokens that they have picked out. This is my Uten characters token, this is my warriors token, and this is my dwarven priest token. Now the dwarven cleric, or the dwarven magician, he picked out this token, and these are from the tokens that I purchased. I gave him access to some of the tokens that I purchased from Roll20, and he couldn't find a dwarf wizard, so he picked this gnome wizard token, which I don't really care for. So I did find a dwarf wizard token. I'm going to present that to him next Tuesday and see if he likes that better. And if so, then we'll use that. Otherwise, if he wants to use that, that's fine. I don't really care. It's his token, not mine. Also, the Uten character here, my player picked out that miniature from the ones available to him, but there are actually 2 other that I like better. But I'm thinking I'm going to save these for NPCs because they're bigger and they look meaner. And this guy's size is actually, I think, more conducive to sticking with the party than these guys. This guy's ginormous compared to him. So if anybody's seen Ren and Stimpy, there's a Ren and Stimpy cartoon called The Littlest Giant. And it always reminds me of that cartoon when I talk about Goliaths and Utens and their relative sizes. And the other giants are always picking on Stimpy, who is the littlest giant, calling him merely huge instead of their size, because he's smaller than the others that are making fun of him. And anyway, I'm a big Ren and Stimpy fan, so go check that out. All right, so that is pretty much the first adventure for my Shadow the Demon Lord campaign. So I am going to drop this video off here, and we're going to play again this Tuesday. So it'll probably take me a few days after that before I have time to actually get myself together to record another video. So anyway, at some point I'll do another campaign diary featuring my first adventure, and let you know how that goes, and see if this campaign is actually going to continue or if it's going to fall short. Well, I should have a kind of a feel for how my players are liking it after the first session, I think. So anyway, at this point, I'm going to call it quits here, and I will catch you guys on the other side of my next video. So I need to come up with a good way to end these videos. So at this point, I'm just going to say, catch you later, dudes.